Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bimmer Barn. In today's episode, I'm going to be giving you guys a little walkthrough and breakdown of how I like to diagnose my BMWs and what tools I like to use, when I like to use them, and all that sort of stuff. Today we do have a sponsor for the video. Foxwell actually reached out to me and said they wanted to send me a scanner to share with you guys and kind of give them a review. So I'm going to give you guys a totally honest review of my unit, and then I'll put a link to this thing in the description below. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about strategy on how you can diagnose your cars with these sort of scanners. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tools that I have behind me, and then we'll get into the car and do a little bit of code scanning. So let's take a look at the three different options that I have at my disposal when I'm going to diagnose a car. And some of you guys might have some of these tools and you might be missing others of them, but I'm going to break this down really simply because these are three different tools at three very different price points. So from left to right, you've got the generic Bluetooth scanners that you connect to your phone right here. These are the two most common types. I think I got this one off of AliExpress and it was like just a couple bucks. It's the ELM 327. And I think this is like an older one that you'll see super common as well. This looks like the one that you would use for like Torque Pro, I think that you like get with the app. But both of these just connect to the OBD port on your car, and they run about 8 to 10 different protocol, which is able to connect to your DME, which is the digital motor electronics module. And that's what controls your engine and would throw like a check engine light on your dashboard. So if you have a check engine light and you want to diagnose what it is, read the car and see what it says, something like this is a great solution. It connects to your phone. You can basically leave it in the car at all times, and it's super cheap and easy to get. So if you're looking for something like under $20 to scan a car, then these are a really good solution. The problem is that these don't run any sort of brand specific software, so you're only going to be able to scan the engine. You're not going to have access to things like the transmission or any audio, body, lighting systems. Any sort of electronics for the car are not going to be accessible here, so you're only going to be working with the engine. These do let you get some live data, but I will say that since it's through like a Bluetooth protocol, it does have some latency issues, so you're not going to get like super accurate data. Usually you want to tap into like an iBus feed if you want to get super accurate, up-to-date data. So here is our Foxwell scanner, and this is very similar to like what you would find with a lot of different manufacturers. They make something that is handheld, going to scan all the modules, provide brand specific software support, and all that they make in like a really handheld, consumer friendly package. So it kind of looks like a mini Autel, which you might be familiar with if you worked in shops before. You know, one of these tools that would read all the modules and probably offer like some service functions and coding options and programming functions and stuff like that. This is kind of like a dumbed down version of it. So it's going to be able to access all the modules, but it's not going to be able to like program them or do anything that's super advanced, because again, you need a tool that's going to be able to have much more expensive hardware to be able to do that level of advanced programming and functions and such. So this unit comes in at $259, and it comes with a few different things. We're going to do an unboxing in a second, but it does scan all the modules. It is a little bit more, a little bit more expensive than having like a Bluetooth phone scanner, but it does produce a lot of functionality, and you can do things like resetting your oil light with this tool right here. So this one is actually multi-brand, so not only can you read the modules on your BMW, but through the website you can download any software from Ford to Peugeot. Any sort of car, you can get the brand specific software and be able to read all of the modules and be able to see when you have a lighting problem or when you have an issue in the transmission. So this is a great tool to have in your arsenal because of the variety of functions that it provides. Our last option here, some of you may recognize, this is a KCAN cable, and I have my laptop underneath it. Those of you that are familiar with this method, you will know that the cable is pretty cheap. You can get one of these cables here for $20 to $30, and the software is free. The problem is that you need to have a compatible computer which has enough space on it, enough processing power, enough RAM to be able to run a program called INPA, or ISTA, and both of these are dealer level softwares which can scan the car, activate functions, reset service things, and also program modules and do coding and just ton of functionality. The problem is you need a computer, you need a laptop like this one. This is like an $800, $900 laptop right here, and it worked great for installing and using this software, but I'm currently out of storage space on it. So I used every inch of my 125 gig solid state drive in order to get INPA and ISTA and NCS Expert load on this thing. And it has a couple other apps for, school and some work stuff. But otherwise, this thing is basically just going to be meant for light internet use and diagnostics on BMWs. So the dealer level tools, they're going to be more expensive. They're definitely going to be more difficult to use. And even though the software is free, installing INPA or ISTA is a huge procedure. It's going to take hours of your time. You could probably find someone online to install it for you. But then again, using it, you definitely have to know what you're doing. You should be trained on it, or you should at least watch a few YouTube videos to get a good understanding before you get your hands dirty with it. So these are the 3 levels of scanners. What would I recommend everyone get in their arsenal? Probably definitely one of these. I have a Dodge truck, and sometimes I just want to scan the engine computer because that's basically the only computer on it, and this is what I'll use. But one of these I definitely say is necessary in your arsenal because this one scans all cars and all brands. So if you have like an older BMW and also like a new Honda or Kia as like your daily driver, you could get into all the modules on any car with something like this. And then the dealer tool, I wouldn't exactly say that many people need it, but if you're like me and you like tinkering, it's really fun to have access to this level of equipment. So now we'll get into unboxing the unit, and as you'll see, this is the Foxwell NT624 Elite, and it comes in this really rugged box and has this loop over it. This comes inside of a standard Amazon box. I figured you guys probably knew what that looked like, so I didn't need to include that unboxing part of the process. Here on the ribbon, you'll see they have some of the features listed on here, as well as actual screenshots of the software using like the live data features. So this is really cool. Live data, you're going to get pretty accurate because it's a direct connection through the OBD port. So you're going to get really accurate, quickly updating live data. And over here, we also see some of the extra features. You get oil service reset, electronic parking brake coverage, so you can access, change your brakes on your car if you have that sort of brake in the rear. So let's go ahead and open the box. It's nice locks. Got a quick start guide, user manual, warranty card. Here's the cable. You also have a little USB drive, which comes with the software that you'll need in order to get this thing updated and get more programming on it. There's also a contact card, so you can easily get in touch with them if you need. And then they also have the USB cable and then the actual unit. So the USB cable is to connect the unit to your computer, but you can also update the software just by taking out the micro SIM right here. So that little SIM card includes all the programming for this thing. Take it out, put it in your computer, update it, and you'll have the latest software and features for your scanner, and you'll have as much or as little support as you want. So for this scanner, when I downloaded the update, I actually went and chose a ton of different models because I figured it'd be great to try this on a lot of different cars. And I've actually been using this unit here for about 3 weeks. So I'm not just giving you guys a random first impressions. Like, I've been using this unit. I've tried this on an E60, on an F chassis, on a couple of my cars, the E46, the E39. So I know that it worked, and I have a pretty good idea of the performance of the unit, which we're going to talk about in a second. So let's go ahead and put aside, I think the only thing that we're going to need is the scanner and the cable, and then we'll step into the car and start diagnosing my E46 and see what's wrong with it. So let's go ahead and plug this thing into the OBD port. And once you do get it plugged in, it should power on like this. And really quickly, we get to our main screen, which has all the different options here. So just to go through it, you got the auto VIN feature, and that basically scans the VIN and tells the unit what car this is, what brand it is, automatically selects the protocols, and gets you to the menus where you can access all the modules. The OBD feature, this is basically as simple as the Bluetooth adapters that I was showing you. So it just checks the quickest protocols to get access to the engine electronics, and it'll test if the monitors for like the O2 sensors have passed and the emission systems, and if you have a check engine light. It'll give you all that information. And then the diagnostic page is basically going to allow you to select what kind of car you have and manually get to the modules page so you can read the different modules and codes and stuff like that. The maintenance tab, this basically gives us our parking brake reset as well as the oil reset. So if we want to reset either of those. And then you got the update tab. This only works when you're connected to the computer. The data manager, this is if you store some fault codes or some logs about what you were doing on your car. And the settings page, and that basically just lets you change language and stuff like that. So now let's go ahead and power on my E46 and we'll see what kind of codes we have. So let's go ahead and use the auto VIN feature because that's actually one of my favorite features on this thing. So go ahead and select that, and automatic VIN acquisition, so you don't even have to type it in or anything like that. But if we just wait a second, it'll start pulling the information off of the car. Now this does take some time, and I have tried other scanners as well from other brands, and they all take a similar amount of time. Even the dealer level tools, or even the tools that you would buy like an Autel or an AutoLogic, those all take time to be able to pull the information because they really try to get all of it out of the car at once. So once you're into the menus, it's really quick to go between menu pages and different modules, but just this initial process is probably going to take maybe 60 seconds, but I'll probably put a timer here so you guys can see exactly how long it takes. So go ahead and click yes now that it's got the VIN. And then you can see here that it knows exactly what car this is, the year, the production date, with even the month on there, and then the fact that it's an automatic. I mean, it does pull all the information, and then it asks you, do you want to continue? Is this correct? So yeah, we'll continue. And there we are, just like that. We are into the diagnosis part of the scanner. So you can do a quick scan here, and it'll basically scan all the modules and just test the car to see what's equipped with it. Or what I like to do is I go into the modules myself and I'll just decide, what do I want to look at? So we'll go into the drive and go to the DME, which is for the motor, and we'll get a good idea of what features this thing has. And you'll see that it can read the ECU information. So that's kind of the boring stuff. I don't think anyone really cares. It's going to have like your VIN or some programming info, hardware number. Yep. The codes. So let's go ahead and read the codes and see what's going on. I know my car has a few emissions related codes, so they should be active. And that's right, it looks like an EWS code. I think that was from when we were messing around with the keys. We have a DMTL pump that I have on order, so that's going to solve that code. Then we have an oxygen sensor voltage aftercap bank 2 fault. So that probably is a bad oxygen sensor, and I have the new one to replace it. Then we have our secondary air pump and the flow rate on bank 1 and 2. If you didn't see the last video, we did just finish fixing this, so go check out that video. I'll put a link to it up here in the corner. But yeah, all these codes should be fixed within the next few days as the parts get installed on the car. And that is it. So when we click down, it goes back to the top of the list. So these are all what I would say like soft codes currently. So what I would usually do is I'd like take a photo of these codes, and then I would clear the codes and see what comes back. So it clears the codes, and then reading them no codes. So the car is on. So if there's anything going on, like something was unplugged or shorted out, then you'd immediately get another fault code come up, or you could, turn the engine on and run it for 5 seconds and then turn it off, and you would immediately get any short circuit codes. So since we don't have anything come back, that does mean that everything's connected, nothing's like gone horribly wrong. And yeah, besides those two features there with the fault codes, we also have the live data feature, and you could just really get lost in this area because there's just so many things that you could see that the engine is monitoring at all times, especially on these newer cars that have lots of sensors. So if we wanted to see like what the exhaust emission system was doing, these are all just lists. So let's try like oxygen sensor emission control, and you'll see that these are all the values that the car can read and output, and you can see the live data while it's going on. So let's try the Vanos and get an idea. So we'll select a couple of these. You don't have to select all of them, but only the ones that you want to see. And I would say just load up as many as you need, because when you load up too many of them, it can be pretty slow to get through the list. So here you'll see like the Vanos position. So if you're trying to diagnose like what's going on with your Vanos, you can go in here and check, is it reaching the position that the engine is saying that it should go at, and all that sort of stuff. So it's really cool to have a tool like this, because something like that Bluetooth scanner for your phone would definitely not be able to read as in-depth data as this, especially since it's categorized and it's all in the manufacturer's language, which is why this is a manufacturer specific tool. So besides the engine electronics, I also think it's important to check the transmission. So let's check the transmission really quick. The one on this car, it's an automatic, so of course there's going to be a module for it. And if we read the codes, we'll see that it has no codes. And I was really happy to find this when I first bought the car, because being an automatic, sometimes you never know. But it turns out this thing has a transmission made by General Motors, and it's actually supposed to be like dumb reliable. So that's why we're going to be servicing it in a future video. But for now, we'll take a look at some of the other modules. You'll see the steering wheel, the traction control module, your steering angle sensor, and obviously there's doubles here because one of these is an old version, one of these is new, and only one of them is going to successfully scan. Also have like, the radio, the C, the instrument cluster, all these different modules from the body. Which if you're trying to diagnose like why your lights aren't working, or if there's a short circuit in one of your airbags, these are really important modules to have access to when you're trying to diagnose that sort of stuff. So it's really important that you have this level of tool in your toolbox, because these BMWs, they have more than just an electronics module for the engine. They have one for everything inside the car. And when something breaks, it's definitely going to put a light on your dash. I can guarantee that. Just like my bulb warning, which I have right here. So everyone, I hope you learned something from this video and that you got some useful information out of it. Obviously, there's a lot of different tools available that can help you diagnose your BMW at home, but there are definitely different levels to it, and depending on your skill level and the resources or budget that you might have, you might find more value in getting a Bluetooth adapter, which is just generic and works on the motor, or if you're like me and you really like to tinker and get into these cars, you're probably going to need something like the Foxwell Scanner to get into the modules and really diagnose when something goes wrong. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. Comment what type of scanner or what your experience is with diagnosing problems on your car, and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't yet. As always, I hope everyone has an awesome day, and we will see you in the next video.